To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hello and welcome. You're with us on Business Today, and we're in conversation with Kiran Mazumdar Shaw on Biocon's most recent set of earnings. Kiran, always a pleasure to interact with you. So we continue to see growth this time, revenue up 17%. We also saw the estimate, of course, was around 15, so beat on that. 17.68% increase in consolidated net profit coming in as well at 219 crores for the quarter, for the third quarter. What aided growth this time around?
Thanks, Abha. And again, congratulations on starting this channel. I just want to say that, yes, we've had a good set of numbers this quarter, largely driven by the contribution of two major segments. One is, of course, the biosimilars business, where insulin glargine, the interchangeable insulin glargine launch, has been a significant contributor to our biologics business. And of course, in terms of generics, our very successful day one launch of the everolimus 10 mg tablets has also helped the generics business to deliver a 7% year-on-year growth and a 15% sequential growth. As you know, even the biologics business delivered a 28% year-on-year growth and a 32% sequential growth. So I think both these have been the significant contributors to the numbers this quarter.
Kiran, margins have improved, but they're still not what the company has seen in earlier quarters. What do you see margins looking like going forward?
So one of the factors that has kind of muted margins this quarter is really a mark-to-market loss, which operationally should not be looked at, because this is a notional loss, a mark-to-market loss of 77 crores, which has really shrunk the margins a little bit. But if you actually remove that, particular loss, then margins actually are at a very healthy level, 28%. So it's much stronger than last year and much more than the 24% that is reported. And we think that, that's the way this quarter's results should be seen. I think the mark-to-market loss through our investment in Adagio is very misleading. So even when you look at EBITDA itself, on a reported basis, it is, 536 crores. But if you look at what it could be on a non-mark-to-market loss, or excluding the mark-to-market loss, it's 614 crores. And even when you look at the profit before tax, it then jumps from 269, which is the reported value, to 346 crores. So I think the mark-to-market loss is very misleading in terms of the operational level of performance.
I just want to talk about biosimilars a little bit more. The vertical clock revenues of 9,801.4 crores as compared to 768.9. So that's a good jump year on year. Generic segment had a revenue coming in of 607.4 crores versus 567.1 crores. That was still a little flat. How do you see the mix panning out in coming quarters?
Well, biosimilars is also always going to lead the growth, because that is the most important segment for us for the foreseeable future, because that is really the very large emerging opportunity for the group. And it will continue to be the leading edge growth driver. And apart from that, of course, the generics business is also gaining traction, because we have a large number of approvals in the pipeline, which we hope will happen over the coming years. And that too will drive significant growth from FY24 onwards. So I think whilst the biologics business will deliver very strong growth from FY23 onwards, I think the generics business is certainly going to add to it from 24 onwards. So I think we are in a good position in that sense, because we have multiple growth drivers in each segment. In the biologics segment, apart from the biosimilar insulin glargine, we also hope to get approval in FY23 for bevacizumab and aspart. You know, and hopefully the kind of regulatory delays that we are seeing because of COVID will actually be behind us.
Now, Biocon has qualified under the PLI scheme. Again, talking about that, how do you see Biocon reaping the benefits of the scheme? What is the plan going forward?
Well, Biocon has qualified for the PLI scheme under the category B, which is for about 250 crores over 6 years. And that will be spread across some of our manufacturing initiatives, which will actually contribute probably about maybe 40 to 50 crores a year in terms of tax benefits. But, personally, I believe that we need to look beyond these incremental kind of incentives. I personally would like to see a very large announcement this budget on research-linked incentives. I think research is something that we need to invest in. As you know, our R&D expenses are only going up exponentially. And that's not something that investors like to hear, even though our business is very R&D dependent and R&D driven. So I would not like to reduce our investment in R&D. But having said that, if we get weighted tax deductions on R&D, then it puts us into a much better place. And I think most companies need to up their investments in R&D, and I hope the government realizes this, because I think government needs to recognize the investment needs in R&D and the gestational risks of investing in the pharma and biotech R&D space.
During the quarter, Kiran, Biocon got 3 new approvals, one, of course, in the US, 2 in Europe. When will you start seeing the revenues from these kicking in?
So you're already seeing revenues coming in from the insulin glargine. The 2 European approvals obviously are something that we are going to address in the coming months. And hopefully that will also translate into good business. Europe, of course, is not as lucrative a market as the US is, because the price levels in Europe tend to be much lower than the US. And in many cases, emerging markets sometimes offer better opportunities than European markets. But nevertheless, these are important markets, and we will, as a global healthcare provider, look at all these opportunities.
Kiran, while we have you with us, must get your take on the current evolving situation around COVID-19 and Omicron in particular. While we have seen, of course, vaccinations and booster shots, Omicron seems to really have swept through both India as well as other countries around the world. How do you see the scenario evolving, and what do you really see happening next?
Well, the way I look at it is that, we are a highly vaccinated population, not only in India, but in most parts of the world. In India, we are now 70% fully vaccinated as an adult population. I hope that we will be vaccinated at an even higher level. I think we need to focus on vaccinating our children very, very rapidly. I also believe that Omicron is a very transmissible virus, which has almost infected very large parts of our population, irrespective of whether you've been vaccinated or boosted. And this is a phenomenon we are seeing all over the world. So boosters don't seem to prevent infections per se. But I think what we are seeing the world over is a very moderated disease. It is not as severe as it used to be, and that should give us some comfort. We also have a large arsenal of treatments, which I think we should be very comforted by, whether it's antiviral pills, whether it is remdesivir, whether it is antibody cocktails, and of course, vaccines. So, when you combine all of this, you should feel far more confident of being able to manage the pandemic better. And I, for one, believe that we do need to get back into normalcy sooner than later. I don't think you can see the end of this pandemic in the near future. I think whether you call it a pandemic or whether you call it an endemic or whether you call it a continuing pandemic, I don't want to get into those debates. But the fact of the matter is Omicron is not the last variant. You are going to get many more variants. But I think now is the time for us to say that we've actually overcome the worst part of this pandemic. And we do need to open up. I don't think it merits any more quarantines. It doesn't merit any more testing. I don't think it merits curfews and lockdowns. I think we need to open up in a massive way. And I also believe that we should only be testing symptomatic patients.
Kiran, thank you so much for your time. Great set of numbers as always. And thanks for taking out the time to talk us through how Biocon is continuing to look at the way ahead. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abha.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.